It is your Friday daily delivery. I'm Michael Rand. Glad to be back for another day. Wouldn't mind if today was a little calmer than yesterday. That turned out to be a very busy one. Here's a recap of some of what you can hear from yesterday if you missed it. It's actually been a busy last couple days. There's been 4 podcasts the last 2 days, 2 each on Wednesday and Thursday, regular episodes, and then the bonus episode with Chip on Wednesday, talking about his great Getting Ready for Work series with Minnesota pro athletes. And then yesterday, Velle E, Neal III, and I did a bonus episode, a special delivery, breaking news on the Twins and the Pohlad family selling or announcing that they are planning to sell the team. So had all that, and then last night the Lynx have a game for the ages. I decided to go live on social media, so you can watch the replay of the live stream on X. You can also find it on the Star Tribune's YouTube page. Go subscribe, listen to that. A little bit more stream of consciousness. It's about 15 minutes long, so if you want extra Lynx coverage, that's a great place to find it. Here today, Velle E, Neal III joins me for our regular segment, our daily delivery debate segment this week. We will talk a little bit more about the Twins sale. We will talk about the Vikings, and we will talk about the Minnesota Wild in that segment here in just a little bit. Fans are mad at Kirk Herbstreit for something he said on Thursday Night Football. Get to that at the end of the show. The Wild won their opener at home 3-2 on Thursday. I'll get to that in a minute as well. First, though, what did I miss? If you thought I was going to start with anything but that thriller at Barclays Center in New York, you were mistaken. Lynx 95, New York Liberty 93, and that doesn't even do it justice. Overtime win. It feels like the Lynx lost and won this game like 3 different times. Feels like this was a 5-game series in one game. Winning a game like this doesn't guarantee you are going to win the series, but man, that sure gives you an opportunity right now. How we got there, Lynx got down big early, rallied to get themselves back into it, got down big again in the fourth quarter. They were down 81-66 midway through the fourth quarter. ESPN's own win probability chart showed that the New York Liberty, at that moment when the Lynx are down 81-66 midway through the fourth quarter, New York had a 99.2% chance to win that game. That means, given everything we know about the rosters, the game, how all the historical games like that have unfolded, New York was expected to win more than 99% of the time. So what happened for the Lynx to secure that 1%? Well, they started chipping away. Got a couple threes, got themselves into single digits. That's helpful. Got a bunch of defensive stops. They lean on defense a lot. They needed to do that again on Thursday in Game 1 of the finals. And then they got some unbelievable, heroic, historic kinds of moments. Courtney Williams on a kind of a scramble possession in the final seconds of regulation, hits a 3-pointer off of an offensive rebound and gets fouled at the same time, makes the free throw to put the Lynx up 84-83. I do believe that was the first time they had led all game. Now, New York, to their credit, comes back down. Couple times the Lynx knocked the ball out of bounds, but with less than a second left, Breanna Stewart gets fouled trying to make a basket. So it's like 0.8 seconds left. You're like, oh man, they did all this for nothing. Did they do all this for nothing? Because Breanna Stewart, one of the all-time greats, one of the greatest players right now, one of the greatest players in league history. She's going to the line, makes the first one. You're like, okay. She's going to make the second one. This game's over, or at least they're going to have a desperation shot, but that's it. Breanna Stewart misses the second free throw. And, if you're a Lynx fan, of course, you're elated. As a WNBA observer, or just like someone who wants sports decided in a certain way, you should be happy too, because you don't want a game decided on, what people thought was maybe a little bit of a ticky-tack foul. I thought it was a good call. It was. She got fouled, but you didn't want to see the game end like that. So the fact that she misses the free throw, game goes to overtime. That felt like a more, just a better way for that game to flow and go. Now, overtime, the Lynx assert themselves, take control. Williams hits another big three. They're up 4. It looks like they may be able to close it out without too much drama, but then a couple turnovers. Williams gives it up after a defensive rebound. Liberty get within 2. Lynx gets stolen on an inbounds pass. All of a sudden, it's tied. You need your best player in that case to make a play. That is Nafisa Collier, of course, makes a turnaround jump shot around the free throw line with about 10 seconds left. That ends up being the difference, the winner in this game, 95-93. And again, I did a whole post-game stream of consciousness. You can listen to that, like I said, on Twitter or on our Star Tribune YouTube page. Let's listen now, though, to what head coach Cheryl Reeve thought of what that win symbolized about this team.
Well, we're the first team in WNBA playoff history to be down 15 and come back and win the game. So that ranks really high. I think it defines our team in terms of being able to get through difficult times. You know, that's what we say we've been talking about. All these interviews we've been given. So we're talking about is, you know, you have to be mentally tough, resilient. You have to look inward and not blame other people, and give each other confidence. And we were that team, and thrilled that we could hang in there.
Couldn't agree more. That is exactly who they have been all season long. Remember, this is a team that wasn't expected to necessarily even be in the playoffs, or if they were, to be a fringe team when the season started. You know, the over-under was around 17 wins. They win 30 during the regular season. Just a tremendous kind of coming together of talent, of team basketball all season long. Some big additions. Courtney Williams was one of them. Here she was talking about how much fun that was.
I mean, that's just a testament to how we believe in each other. We have so many great three-point shooters, and the fact that these girls out here trying to get me the ball, like, I mean, I could cry. Like, this is just amazing. Like, I love it. I say that all the time. Like, and I don't just say that for fun. Like, these people that I'm around, like, we believe in each other so much. Like, it's crazy, man. I'm happy to be here.
So now the big question, can they do it again? Can they do it 2 more times in the next 4 games? Well, they stole home court advantage away. They don't have to win another road game to win this series, but it's going to get a lot tougher now. New York probably feels like they gave one away. They were in control midway through the fourth quarter. They've got to feel like they've got something to prove in game 2. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Clear your schedule. No Vikings game this weekend. They are on a bye. Plenty of opportunity to just sit and focus on the Lynx. If they can win Sunday, that would be total control of the series. Not over yet, but that would be total control of the series. Even if they lose, though, they have done the thing they needed to do, which was win at least one of these games. Feels like this series could go the distance, just like that Connecticut series. We'll see. But a tremendous, tremendous game 1, and what a resilient comeback by the Lynx. The Wild, meanwhile, won 3-2 over Columbus in their season opener on Thursday night. Kind of a workmanlike win, a good game for Philip Gustafson. That's probably a good sign for them. He had 31 saves in the victory. Matt Boldy, a huge night, sat out the preseason. He was kind of coming back from injury. He had a goal and 2 assists, so factored into all 3 goals for the Wild. Wasn't like a spectacular kind of win, a little bit of a grinded out kind of win, especially at the end. Columbus furious rally in the last few minutes trying to tie it up, but they didn't get it done. I dare say, though, if the Wild are going to be better this season, winning a lot of games like that will be a big part of the formula, right? Like, this is a team, you kind of know what you're getting. They're trying to improve on the margins, trying to improve from within, going to need those tight wins this season. Going to need good goaltending like they got on Thursday night. Going to need guys like Matt Boldy. They're kind of secondary stars. You know, Kirill Kaprizov is the franchise player, the star. He had an assist on Thursday night, but didn't get onto the didn't factor into the goal scoring. Didn't get one into the back of the net. But Boldy did plenty. Joel Eriksson Ek had a goal. You know, you kind of need those secondary wave of players to help out, and you need all of the role players, you know, the third defensive pair, the fourth line, to give them the sort of quality depth that they were lacking a lot this year. So I don't know if it's the kind of game where you're going to say, oh man, hang the banner, this is a team that's going to be great, but it's the kind of win they're going to need this season if they are going to improve. I still think this is a pivotal season for the Wild and general manager Bill Guerin. We will get into that very subject and more here after the break with Velle E. Neal III. Daily delivery debate time with Velle E. Neal III. Like I said yesterday on our emergency podcast, Velle, convenient that the Twins broke the news that the Pohlads are selling the team before we recorded, not after we recorded. Got a 2-for-1 out of it. Now I want to start today's segment with this question for you. Given what has happened so far this week, the Twins coming to a new agreement with their TV contract, they're going to be broadcast by Major League Baseball in 2025, distributed by Major League Baseball in 2025. They locked down a future with WCCO, at least a near-term future for the radio. But now, of course, the sale of the team. Should this be enough to make fans happy? And is, in fact, this news that the Pohlads are selling the team, is this good news?
Well, hope is never it shouldn't be a strategy. It should never be a solution. But hope.
Tell that to the Wild.
I know, but this gives fans hope that maybe someone comes in and is able to spend more than the Pohlads were willing to spend on payroll to make this team more dangerous on the field and make it strong enough to make a long playoff run. That's what it does. Will it happen? We're not sure. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I got to remind you, you live in Minnesota. You're not in LA. You're not in Chicago. You're not in New York. You are in the 15th largest media market. And in baseball, you're like 18th or 19th because you're behind both the Chicago teams, both the New York teams, and both the Los Angeles teams. A new owner may come in and look at the same situation and agree with what the Pohlads were doing in terms of how to outfit this team. You never know. But you may get someone who's going to come in, motivated to make a splash, wants to buy goodwill, and is willing to authorize a higher payroll in order to help teams win. But I'm going to point this out too, and I've said this many times, which is angry to all of you. I mean, you're going to get angry again. Mm-hmm. Money doesn't solve everything in baseball. It doesn't. No. It still comes down to good baseball decisions. As much as you can gripe about the Twins payroll situation, they're the ones who traded for 2 injured pitchers. They're the ones who traded for Trevor Richards. Better baseball decisions. Maybe the Twins are still playing baseball right now. Ultimately it comes down to that. The New York Yankees, since their last World Series, have spent $3 billion on payroll, and they have not won another World Series. So spending more money isn't the ultimate answer. Building a great organization is. Having the best farm system in baseball is. Having the best scouting and development is. Those things mitigate the need to spend a lot of money. But it always helps to have the checkbook ready when you need to make that one key move or keep that one fantastic player. So that's what fans may get out of this ownership change.
Well, yeah, and I think there's definitely an element of be careful what you wish for here, right? Like you had a stable owner, a local owner, a family that had it for 40 years. Like you knew what you were getting. You might not have loved it, but you knew they weren't going to uproot the team. You had the ballpark. You kind of knew what you were getting year for year. You kind of knew where the payroll was going to be. You might not have loved it, but there was a certain comfort level with a stable local owner. Now you don't know who's going to come in and run the team. You don't know how they're going to run the team. And so there's that. I do think, though, like you were saying, there is this element of any change at this point is a good change, because I do think the PR was going south on this thing, right?
Yes.
Like you had all the stuff with the TV situation over the last few years, which is not necessarily their fault, but they probably played a role in, hey, we're going to take as much money as we can get from Bally Sports North. That's angering fans. The games aren't available. The Comcast fiasco this year, things like that. Not spending this season, another payroll hit. You go back to total system failure of 2016. Like they were always saying something or doing something where fans were like, who's in charge here? And what are they doing? Do they know what they're doing? Is ownership committed to winning? Do we know what's really going on here? So I think from just a standpoint of a shakeup to see if things can be different. I mean, let's be honest. This team hasn't won a World Series, hasn't been in the World Series for 33 years. Like that's a pretty long drought to be living off of those, first, first 2 World Series in the first 8 years that they own this team. So I do think there's an element of any change is good, but after the dust settles a year or two later, I don't know how much people are going to notice the change or love the change.
I agree. I don't know. And the other thing too, Mike, is that, the Minnesota Championship Sports Drought, aside from the Lynx and the hockey team, the Frost, the Scott Frost, that no one else has won. And I think that kind of builds on each other. There's a drought going on here. And the Twins were the last men's professional team to win the title in 1991.
Yes.
The Wolves haven't won. The Wolves the window's open for them now, but they were so terrible. They what was it, 14 out of 15 years they didn't even make the playoffs?
Yeah, 13 and 14. Yeah.
That's hard. And I remember Glenn Taylor owns this newspaper, but the ownership has made some mistakes in how they've handled the team. The Joe Smith signing and some other decisions, the David Kahn hiring. All these franchises have been snake bit one way or another. Things are looking up for the Vikings, definitely. Things are looking up for the Wolves, definitely. But I think that the fact that there has not been a parade down Hennepin Avenue recently, weighs on everyone, especially baseball fans here.
This is Minnesota Thunder erasure, by the way, Lavelle. They won the A-League championship in 1999, and I was there for it.
I know. Buzz Lacos is probably going to look at this and get mad at me and give me a phone call. But he is still coaching, by the way. He's a volunteer coach at St. Paul Academy.
Yes. He's great. Buzz is one of my all-time favorites. I covered him for a lot of years. I love Buzz. But the larger point is this drought for Minnesota professional major men's sports is long. It has been the Twins that were the last one to win, but it is part of this ecosystem of fan frustration. And I think most fans will view this as a positive, especially the loudest ones. I just don't know if that's what we will eventually come to say about this.
I'm going to be afraid to look at Twitter today. It's going to
don't read the comments.
The celebration on Twitter is going to be huge.
Oh man,
going
victory
on
laps, victory laps for all of them. Well, let's move on to subject number 2, Lavelle. I had to make adjust on the fly here because of this big news on Thursday. But subject number 2, how concerned should the Vikings and Vikings fans be about Sam Darnold's last 6 quarters of football?
Well, I would say that what he showed them through the first 3.5 games of the season was absolutely spectacular. Of course, he was AFC Offensive Player of the Month for September. I'm sorry, NFC Offensive Player of the Month. He was fantastic then. The last 6 quarters have not been that great, and I think we had to be honest with ourselves and believe that and realize that Sam was not going to operate at the level he was the first 3 games of the season. It was just ridiculous, and he's coming back down to earth. I still think he's a better quarterback because of his association with KLC. I don't think it's going to become horrible Sam Darnold that got ran out of New York and Carolina. I can't include San Francisco because Brock Purdy was already there, as a starter. But yeah, he's coming down to earth. And he's going to be functional. Now, the big thing here going forward, and I wrote about this at the beginning of the year, I still think Aaron Jones is maybe the most important player on that offense. When he's running the ball effectively, it helps JJ. It helps Darnold. It helps everybody. And his hip injury needs to be monitored closely because if Sam doesn't have Aaron, that's going to put pressure on the aerial game, and teams are going to know that. They haven't really faced a fire-breathing defense. The Jets are pretty good.
Jets are really good.
The Jets have a good defense. They got some other monster defenses coming up here down the pike here. What's going to happen when he gets pressure in his face? What happens if he gets moved off his spot? And you throw in the fact that Aaron Jones may have a bad hip, then there could be some reason for concern here.
My concern is that they just haven't seemed to be able to scheme guys open the way they seemed to be earlier in the year. It looked like there was a lot more easy throws for Sam Darnold in the first few games of the year, and certainly in the first half against Green Bay. And then, of course, the second half against Green Bay, some of it's they're playing conservative. They're trying not to, they've got a huge lead, 28-7 at halftime, and they're trying to just run the ball, sustain the lead. He's got to make some throws, but they're trying not to do too much. But against the Jets, it was the opposite. It was like they needed to make plays. That game was slipping away. The defense was holding it together. They did eventually win, but it could have been much more comfortable if the offense had been able to do more, if they'd been able to get guys open. And I think you're absolutely right with the Aaron Jones observation. Like, he is the engine that is driving this thing. His absence was absolutely noticeable against the Jets when he went out with that hip injury. I guess my big question is, where is the real Sam Darnold? Is it the guy who's had, I think, 5 turnover-worthy plays the last 2 games against the Jets and Packers, who had only like 2 or 3 through the first 3 games? Or is it the guy, where's the equilibrium going to settle in? Is it going to be closer to really good Sam Darnold, or is it going to be close to the kind of more mediocre Sam Darnold that we've had the last 2 weeks?
That's a good question. I would say it'll probably be somewhere in between mediocre and really good. I don't know which side of the spectrum that's going to be on. The other thing, too, he is getting Hawkinson back. TJ should be ready to play in a week here. That's a nice little safety blanket to have.
Yeah.
In addition to Addison and Jefferson, and Hawkinson, and maybe
where's Naylor been? Naylor's been nowhere lately.
I know that. He stepped up his first start when he needed to. Other than that, you haven't seen a lot from him. But I'm interested to see how things go forward here with Sam. I think he's going to come down to earth. I think he's coming down to earth, but I don't think he's going to totally crash and burn. I don't see that happening. He's got too many good weapons. He's got bookend tackles. The infrastructure is set up for him to at least be slightly above average to me. And that could be enough for this squad because their defense is excellent and they can win a lot of close games that way.
Yeah, I'm not jumping all the way off, but I am saying the Sam Darnold for MVP talk has definitely cooled down. The Jets do have really good defense, so we got to see if this was a one-off caused by a bad matchup or if there's more to it once they get back from the bye.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
Last thing, Lavelle, is this to you, and I'll just say it right off the bat, it is to me, is this to you the most pivotal year of Bill Guerin's tenure as Wild general manager?
I'm not ready to go there yet. I would say maybe next year. Of course, I'm looking at the Suter and Parisi contracts finally coming off the books and having some flexibility there. But Billy's already started to spend some of that money. Brock Favors' raise kicks in next year. A couple other contracts kick in. But I think that this is still kind of a transitional year because of Bold entering his 3rd year, Favre entering another year. Young guys, Wallstat. I'm not happy with the goaltending situation. Wallstat should be playing more. Yes, I don't like the fact he's behind.
Too many goalies. Too many goalies.
I don't like the fact he's behind Fleury and Gustafsson. That guy needs to get on ice. He's the future. Ogren's the future. Hustinov is the future. I want to see the young core continue to shine. I want to see what Rossi does. If Rossi improves as much this year as he did last year, he's going to be a hell of a player. I still think we're waiting to see some of those guys find their game, see what type of player they're going to be, and discover what makes them effective at NHL level. I think there's a transitional period going on with the older guys. Zuccarello's no spring chicken, neither is Hartman, Johansson. Foligno. Yeah. I think Billy and Gaudreau. Billy is banking on these guys playing better than they did a year ago. And that's a lot of ifs to me. And, as I've said before, if is a fifth, we all would need an Uber to go home. And so I just think there are too many ifs to say this is a pivotal year. I think it's all about getting to the point where the new blood, the younger blood, becomes the core of the team.
Here to me is why it's the most pivotal year, because if it falls apart this year, if they aren't better, if they aren't good enough to make the playoffs and be competitive, you run the risk of Kirill Kaprizov, your best player, saying, trade me. I want out of here. I don't want to do this anymore. And then everything you've kind of set up, this runway you've set up to be better, to have more money to spend next summer, that all goes out the window if you have to trade Kirill Kaprizov, because you're not going to get comparable, franchise player for franchise player. Like, he is the franchise. He is the guy you want to build around in so many different ways. And if he tells you, you know what, enough's enough, it's been a good run, but I got to get out of here. I want to go somewhere where I can win, and I don't see it happening here. That makes it hard. So I think that they've got to do enough this season to show Kirill Kaprizov that, hey, going into next summer when he's got 1 year left on his contract, that it doesn't have to be, we got to trade Kirill and start over kind of stuff. So that to me is why it's so pivotal. And I guess, and apparently, Lavelle, I read this in The Athletic, apparently we're in year 2 of a 5-year plan, even though this is Bill Guerin's 6th year and it's the Wild's like 24th year. I don't understand what they're talking about, but apparently they've got a 5-year plan. They're trying to talk us into a 5-year plan, maybe 6. Leopold said it. Maybe if it takes another year, that's that. But they're asking a lot of their best player and their fans in terms of patience right now.
Well, here's the thing with this. The one thing that could, in addition, even if once again, another if the Wild stay healthy, they look like a playoff team. Yeah. If the Wild stay healthy, it look like a playoff team. That's another if here. Yeah. If Spurs stays healthy, the defense looks different. They did bring in one guy to help with the PK. But the one thing that could motivate Kirill to stay here is the fact that the young guys do look like they could be studs, and that the near future looks bright because of the guys I mentioned. And then the other Russian, Yurov, comes in next year, right? Yeah. So that could motivate Kirill to stay. He's got it good here. Hopefully he's comfortable here. I read some crazy rumor 2 weeks ago that he wanted to go to Chicago and play with Connor Bedard. I was like, where did that come from? I don't. Why would he want to go play with Connor Bedard? Why him? Unless he's decided you got to have a 1-2 punch. Like a Draisaitl and whoever. But I think there's more here than just winning that could motivate Kirill to stay here. And once again, I don't know about this 5-year plan. I do think that this is still there's a transition going on with this roster. That Bill's extended because he signed Foligno and Hartman and Zucker, which
Zuccarello,
his name is Zucker, which I didn't agree with at the time. I did not. So we'll see. I think they're better. I was at practice the other day. I talked to Zucker. I talked to Faber. I talked to Fleury. They all believe, the penalty kill's been fixed. And I said, well, how do you know? Can you tell that you're going to be a good team? Do you need some games? We need some games. So I'm really curious to see these first couple of games and how it goes.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a big year for Billy Guerin. I think Craig Leopold has a lot of patience, but I think when he decides he runs out of it, it runs out quick. So we'll see. It's a big year for them. It's a big start of the year for them. Remember how they were awful at the beginning of last year, and Dean Evison lost his job, and here we are now. So we'll see. So much going on. We didn't even talk about all the other big things happening right now. I'm sure we'll get into Lynx next week. It just timing wise, it was bad because they play Thursday night, and we were recording before that. I'm sure the Vikings will be another hot topic again next week. Twins fallout. Timberwolves are going to start up soon. It's madness. It's chaos.
Great time of year, though. Great time.
It is.
Got the NBA Finals starting. WNBA Finals.
Yep.
You got PJ's Roll the Boulders are actually won a meaningful game.
Yes.
A lot of good stuff going on. And some fans would say that the Twins being for sale is also part of that good stuff. We'll see.
Time will tell. Thanks, Lavelle.
Thanks for having me.
Great stuff from Lavelle. He pulled double duty this week with the bonus episode on the sale of the Twins and our regular segment. And you got to go read his column on the Pohlad family and the last 40 years of Twins history. You will find that in your Star Tribune newspaper and on StarTribune.com. Now, you heard Lavelle and I talking about the Vikings. Let's finish with the cooler. Fans are indignant on the Thursday night broadcast, Amazon Prime Video broadcast of the 49ers win over the Seahawks. Kirk Herbstreit, the analyst on that broadcast, brought up all the contenders in the NFC, saying basically if you asked, this is verbatim, if you asked who the best team in the NFC is, not right now, but when you look at their roster and the potential, who else besides the 49ers? Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Didn't mention the Vikings, didn't mention the Lions either. Those two might be two of the three best teams in the league right now. I think you got to stop thinking about what you thought you knew at the start of the year. Like, I get what he's saying. Like, the season will not be defined on 5 games out of 17, but I think we have to recalibrate. I think the Lions belonged on that list at the start of the year. I don't think Tampa Bay belongs on that list. Green Bay, maybe if you squint, but a lot of things have to go right for them. 49ers, I get it. Yeah, you got to stick with them. They still are a favorite, especially if they get McCaffrey back healthy. Dallas, I don't know about Dallas. So a weird list to say the least, and indignant Vikings fans having some moments of anger and frustration with that on social media Thursday night and into Friday morning. That will do it for me today. That'll do it for this week, I hope. I don't think I need another special episode. We'll just leave it here unless something truly wild happens on Friday. Can't imagine what that would be, but then again, at this time yesterday, I didn't know that the Twins are going to go up for sale, so you never know. But more than likely, that will do it for me this week. We'll be back at it with Royce on Monday.